All right. Anyways, but the point is still the same, right? We had brotherhood talk, just us. But the point is like this. The point is just saying we cannot achieve anything. Why have every movement I'm just going to use the Black community, for example. Why has every movement failed? You may have had moments of connection, this, but all that stuff, and again, people, when I talk about the Black community, people think I'm downing my culture. I have not seen anything inspirational out of white society for me to critique to say why it failed or succeeded. The African American movement, they were actually trying to bring like positive change into the world. They were trying to bring equality, or they're pursuing ideas of justice, right? So when I critique it, it's because it's the only real examples that I've learned that maybe there's like Spanish movements. I know there with, Cesar Chavez and these types of people. Maybe there's Asian Americans that, fought for, certain forms of equality and even women and these type of things. I mean, I get that, but I'm just saying for me as a man who, shares experiences as these other people based off of where Hashem placed me at this world. I mean, I just have to critique it, right? So I'm saying, so why have they, when I say have they failed, I'm saying they failed because the ultimate result wasn't manifested. Now, you could say, well, that's not necessarily a condition of failing. You could say that it's a progression of steps of progression. And where I'm standing at is a byproduct of steps that were taken before me. That's also true, right? But again, if that's true, that means that we're at the place of completion, right? So I only have to see it as non-success, not to discount what people did before, but to see now the whole point is completion, right? Everything is completion, right? And so, and so, hold on one second. Everything's on a point of completion, right? And so now on the frame of completion, what is completion? Completion is removing the idea, like say for example, a person has a certain amount of money in their pocket, right? Say it's 50 million, say it's 50 cents, right? Why, why, why is it that I have a society that tells me I'm less valuable or more valuable based off of my ability to purchase? Why don't I live in a society that gauges me on my capacity to love others? Why don't I have a society that judges me on my ability to have compassion for others, for empathy for others, forgiveness for others? Why is none of those things even in the equation of the evaluation of who I am? Why is it only how much money I have the ability to acquire, which most of the conditions have nothing to do with me, right? Like, is Bill Gates a genius, or was he just at the right place at the right time where software, became a big thing, and he was one of the first, companies there that were doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, software could have maybe went another way. I mean, there's a lot of people who had innovations we never heard about. So the point is just saying, this is what we're dealing with. This is really what we're dealing with because it's like not embracing that idea. The whole spiritual thing is just, for me, it's a joke. It's a joke. If a person is not here and they're not in a place of saying, I'm using Modi Ani, I'm using Netilat Yadayim, I'm using the 18 brachot in the morning, I'm using tzitzit, I'm using tefillin, I'm using these things to remove me from the perception that anything can fulfill me but Hashem. Nothing can fulfill me but Hashem. That's why I'm doing the 613 mitzvahs, because I stand and testify in front of Hashem that there's nothing that can fulfill me but you. There's nothing. You provided the man. You provided me to escape danger. You gave me a name to start with. Only Hashem can do that. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. That's it. And that's becoming a Ben Adam, right? And what is Ben Adam's role in this world? To be Israel, right? Right? To be Israel, right? And what is Israel? Israel is the perfection of a spiritual man, the perfection of Abraham. Because Abraham didn't have a built-in community with built-in halachot of the community. He imposed it, he shared it, he inspired. Yaakov created a reality where everyone has this ability to connect to Hashem, even within a collective, but even autonomously. A system, the tribes, the whole thing. 12, I mean, one, bro, think about it. People don't realize what that means. Yaakov has 12 tribes. When someone has kids, it'd be like, oh yeah, here's my tribe, right? That's what they say, right? So how could it, what is this idea that Yaakov had 12 tribes? 12 tribes. He's Yaakov. He had children, 12 of them, tribe of Yaakov. No, but no, what he brought down into this world was 12 expressions of Parsufim within Klal Israel, right? Within Klal Israel, within the Makom of Kedusha, that's standing on Mount Sinai, within that, there's not one set of Parsufim. He brings 12 sets of Parsufim expressed in each one of his children. They represent a certain set of lights that have to be revealed in the world. This is what we're talking about. This is astronomical. We're reading this week's parsha. But we don't know who Jacob is with Esau. It's like we just like read. No, it's like sci-fi. It's not sci-fi. Anyways, the point is saying that this is how you conquer your enemies. When you accept God's language of definition and you reject theirs. That's it. That's Moshe Rabbeinu talking to Pharaoh. He went to the same schools that Pharaoh went to. He learned the same studies. He could have came and talked to him in a language that Pharaoh understood. No, he spoke with God's language. You want to talk to the non-Jews? I have a soul. Do you have a soul? Okay. How does your soul receive light? I don't know. Okay, this is how your soul receives light. This is the prophecy at the end of the days that the nations of the world will cling to the Jew, right? Because it's the only way that they're going to receive light. Because they don't know how to receive light because they didn't even know they had a neshama until we told them. Their little Old Testament don't teach them about their soul. Their Quran don't teach them nothing about their soul. Their Buddha may say some words that they heard, from a Jew, and they put in a thing. But the reality is that neshama is something that the Jewish people have been studying in depth since the time of Abraham, right? But codified on Mount Sinai and everything after that. The whole thing's neshama, halachot, neshama. Everything's neshama. So the world that we're in right now, we're going to a world of AI, right? Well, we don't need human labor. We don't need your labor no more, humans. We don't need it. We got robots and we got artificial intelligence. That little skill set you learned at your little college, we don't need it no more. We don't need your skill set at your university with your liberal white university professor. We don't need that no more. So what do we need? We need real human expression, real human connection, things that robots and technology cannot provide. And Hashem's pushing us as a human society to let go of the physicality. He's pushing us. He's saying, you have to let go of physicality. It's over. I don't need you for physical anymore. I need you for neshama. I don't even need your intelligence. I need your soul. I need the power of your neshama to be the focus of your existence. That's why he's created AI technology. It's over. Anything that's based around systematic processes, you don't need humans for them anymore. I mean, come on, let's wake up. I'm not making this up. So the system of the neshama is the halakot. Oh, it's Jewish. Is this? Yes, the Jews were given it. Israel was given it. But the point is saying it's distribution of light. Why are the Jews in the music industry and TV industry and film industry? It's distribution, right? They're not on the creative, they're on distribution. So the Jews are in the distribution of light too, right? They're doing the distribution of Kedusha. All right. Now, the ones that, are spiritual as us, our other Jewish brothers, they're caught up in the industry, music industry. They're in distribution, film, all this type of stuff. They're pushing out ideas, but the root of it is, that they're Jews, and their real job is to push out the kedusha. Right? But a mutation of that, of without knowledge, is some of the corruption we see in the industry, right? But the opposite of that is the Jews sitting in Jerusalem, in Israel or anywhere in the world that's following the Torah and learning and teaching and that type of thing. You have both dualities of distribution, right? You have the filth of the music industry, and then you have the holiness of the religious Jew. But nevertheless, it's the capacity of the Jew to distribute light, to distribute energy, rather, positive or negative. But that distribution comes. So when things go wrong, everyone blames the Jews. Hey, you guys are the distribution of light. We see darkness. Why is that? You guys are not on your job. Let's get them. Let's get let's get them. They're robbing us of our light. The Jews are not doing their job. They're robbing us of our light. Let's get them. It's our history, no? Let's get them. We need them for light. If God says in the book of Isaiah that the Jews are supposed to be, or Israel's supposed to be a light to the nations, right? You have to understand what that means based off what we're learning. That means if God is explaining reality. He's not telling you what to do. If he's telling you that something was supposed to be a light to the nation, that means that it was created. The entity that was created is supposed to be a light to the nation. That's how it's created. It's not just saying like, hey man, go be a light to the nations. No, it's saying this is what the Jew is. Right? This is what Israel is. It's a light to the nation. That's what it's been, even in our corruption, even in our negativity, right? So you see that whole dynamic of light to the nations. Now the flip side of that is saying that that means that the nations of the world were created with a particular vessel to receive the light from the Jew, right? In the same way that Hashem created the kalim, he created the mishu, he created the residue, like the vessel, and he created the light. He created Malchut, and he created Zerim right? And he has the intelligence of Keter Chochmah Bina, dot, right? So this is how creation works. It's the same thing by the Jew and the non-Jew. The non-Jew was created to receive the light of the Jew. The moral system that exists in the planet Earth in every religion comes from the Torah. The concept of justice, the idea of morality, this all comes from the Torah. Show me another book that they're holding by. Legal systems, everything. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been Jews that have not lived up to the greatness of their ancestors. We could say the same things by ourselves. We haven't always lived up, right? So it's just saying that this is how creation works. It's not like an ego thing, like, oh, we're better than other people. Oh, we're better. No, it's the opposite. It's like we're like servants, right? The person with the most responsibility becomes the servant, right? So we're the servants of humanity. Do they appreciate their servants? Nope. They're treating them cruelly. But it's not because we're beneath, it's because it's the opposite, because we're given the greatest amount of responsibility. So anyway, so these are the things that we're dealing with out here. You know what I mean? And that's why removing ourselves as far as we can from the thinking process of the impure side, right? Because these ideas that we're talking about are coming from the impure side. It's not coming from the pure side. If I'm calling myself black or white or Hispanic or this, in order for me to understand it, I have to read their history books, those textbooks. Remember we saw those textbooks in high school? Those textbooks are corrupted. They're full of lies. They don't acknowledge God as the creator. It is a lie. And I don't care if they created a technical society where people can learn technical contributions, but guess what? We don't need you anymore. We don't need your technical skill sets, right? So the only thing now left is God's truth. So your history books, your science books don't acknowledge God, therefore it's false. The end of conversation. End of conversation. It's nothing else to talk about. So from there, how can I, as a man of God, as a man of Torah, as a Jew, refer to myself as any of these things? This is a joke. It's beneath me. They're holding by the Big Bang. Stop it. Please get away from me with that. Big Bang, bro. Come on. Like, bro, how many billions of people are holding by Big Bang? They're walking around believing it's true. Yeah, man, the Big Bang. I don't know. Whole world came into existence. And they don't care about it. They don't care how the world came into existence. They don't care about, they don't care about any of these things. They don't care about how the world came into existence. They don't care about the argument, like, is that really true? Is it not true? They just accept it. You go around the world, just talk to people. Hey, how was the world created? Um, I heard of the Big Bang Theory. What is it? I really don't know what it is. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe there was a combustion. I mean, some people are a little bit more educated. Maybe they read the books. In high school. You know what I mean? Like something like this. But in general, most people don't even know or care. They don't care how the world was created. They don't care why they're here in this world. They just want to, eat and sleep and, have intimacy. Maybe if they're a little bit more big of a desire, they want some prestige, some honor. But that's it. So, anyways, this is what we're dealing with, right? And so, when we're talking about moving forward, we can't be scared to remove ourselves from the impure ideas because they're all impure. The people who created these ideas are impure. These people think about the concept of being a racist. Now let's really like think about it. Somebody comes and takes human beings and finds details about those human beings and identify those different points in those human beings and then go to each of those groups and say, hey, because these people are different in this way, they were going to hurt you. So you have to protect yourself, and we're here to help you do that. Once you become a citizen, we'll help protect you from these people who are trying to hurt you. So America always needs an enemy, right? Right? The immigrants, they're here. They're going to kill and rape everybody. Get rid of them. ICE, ICE, ICE. America always needs an enemy because that puts them in a position to go to one group of people and say, hey, you know what? Those people over there with the long eyebrows, they crazy, man. They crazy. Hey, hey, B, bring out the pictures. The guy brings out pictures. Hey, man, look at these murders, these massacre, rapings, all the stuff, all this stuff, right? These people with the long eyebrows, they did that, man. You gotta watch them, man. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna help you do that. So this is society. Human beings exist. Their natural nature is to see connection between each other. But then there's then there's another side of that individual, which is selfish. So when you go to that person and you identify uniqueness about them and you isolate them from the other people, now you've attached them to a different energy, the energy of selfishness, the desire to receive for oneself. Their natural state is the desire to share, right? Or aspect of that, right? Because look at kids. When you see kids together, you see a black kid, white kid, an Asian kid, they're not thinking about nothing, bro. They just up here like, hey, hey, let's go. Let's play Legos. Let's wrestle. But it's not until those teachers pull them aside and say, hey, you're Asian, right? You see the way you look? You see the way he looks? They go to the black kid, hey, you're black, right? You see the way you look, your eyes, your nose, this, you see how different you are? Hey, man, they don't like you, man. You got to watch them, right? So, and you develop a whole thinking process, right? You develop a whole thinking process in a person's thinking, and then there's a collective, and then once they accept that idea, then there's millions of people that agree with it, billions of people. They all believe that they're different races. They all believe that they're different ethnicities. and they believe that there's different things that they have to have scarcity consciousness with, because if the other group gets more than I get, then I'm going to lose out. So I have to be more forceful. And for sure, with minorities, I have to make sure that they don't take advantage of me because there's scarcity, right? So I got to make sure I get more than the minorities because I'm original and they're not, or I reflect the majority and they don't. I'm just saying this is real stuff. This is society that we're living in. We wake up every day, like, who are you? Hey, like say by me. Oh, or you're black. You're from, you grew up in Los Angeles. You're American. Your parents made this money. This is the neighborhood you're from. And then from there, you develop a whole set of identities, right? You as it relates to other black people, you as it relates to white people, you as it relates to the scheme of the world, America, whatever. You develop all these things. And it's all based off of books. But the books are lies. There's just someone who wrote a narrative on everybody's history. I mean, the thing is, like, what's this whole issue with, like, the whole, like, the curriculum, the DEI, all this type of stuff. So you have one side that says, hey, there's a bunch of truths about America in the history of America that we want to share, right? And there's another group of people that say, well, hey, you know what? That history maybe exists, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but you're using it to lower our self-perception, which makes us more vulnerable. So we rather reinforce the story that keeps our self-esteem high than the story that is also that is probably more true, but can make us vulnerable. This is the argument, Democrat, Republican. This is happening right now. I'm not making this up. So if I'm telling you that their books are lies and their systems of thought are fabricated and they just have a group suggestion that makes us believe that, then it comes back to the Torah and the sages. So then what is true? Now that you have AI, right, and you have, like, everyone's creating images now, like, so I could make an image of myself in 1920, 1800, 1500s, 2 BC, whatever it is, right? I could do that image. So what's real? What's real? That's the question. What's real? And so what I'm saying is, through my travels and through my study, the Torah is real because the Torah is articulating the true reality. And the true reality is the structure of human beings, which is, we're learning about it now, and creation as a whole. No one's asking these questions. No one's giving these answers. So I have to go with higher intelligence. I have to go with what resonates with my parsufim, my soul, the lights in my soul. Right. And so that's why the more I'm making that divider, because it's like, okay, it's cool. There's a workforce. Everyone's doing it. But that doesn't make it reality. Things could change. I mean, you understand when I came, I'm older than Otino, and I'm younger than the elder in terms of just this discussion. But you understand when I came out, when I came out of high school, it was the beginning of the breakdown of the corporation. The brick and mortar corporation model that existed forever. I was there. I mean, like, I was in high school, but that's when it started. That whole process of when Napster and global outsourcing and this and digital technology and films and digital, just the whole thing's breaking down. And so my adaptation to the private sector was different than someone who was just, maybe graduated high school 5 years prior, right? So anyway, so we're gonna learn a little bit of the rom call, but the key thing is that, because as we're learning, I don't want to, I don't want, like, again, I'm very sensitive about this idea of making things intellectual and you know like robotic. You know what I mean? Like I said, like, I have friends, people that I know, they know a lot of Kabbalah ideas and Kabbalistic ideas and very in-depth ideas, but they're wimps in real life. They're scared of their shadows. They're just followers. They've never developed independent thought. They've never developed the connection to their parsufim and want to express that, but rather they want to not take accountability for the parsufim and follow other people, you know? And so it's just, and that's fine. Everyone, and like I said, everyone has a tikkun, and I'm not here to say what people should do, but I'm just saying the reality is because if you accept that the world that we live in is manufactured clearly, and then that's the impure reality and it's the pure reality, then my advancement in that reality is not limited to anything. Like Yosef comes out of prison, he comes and explains to the leader of the world how he can save himself. How was Yosef able to do that? Right? How was Yosef able to do that? How was Yosef able to bring the impure side closer to Kedusha? Because he was connected, he was clear. So you're out there doing business, it's like, okay, well, if you're clear on these ideas and this is who you are, you should be looking to take more leadership. You should be looking to take more influence, not because you have an ego, but because you're coming from the pure side. And as you take more influence and more power in the world, you can bring the world closer to the pure side, just like Joseph did, just like Moshe did, just like Abraham did. They brought the impure world closer to purity. And that's the real deal. Like, people, they say all the time, like, I remember, like, when I was back at the Kabbalah Center and it was like this idea of converting and all these things were, being talked about. And just remember, there's just like two types of people that come into Judaism. There's some people that, feel like they're lost and they feel like they're lost and they found themselves in Judaism, right? That's what they say. Oh, I found myself. I feel connected. This is the truth. This, blah, blah, blah. But then there's another type of person who, for some reason, has this dynamic to want to make changes in the world, that wants to be connected, that wants to fulfill their purpose. And they're aware of that and they're clear of that and they're pondering and they're looking for ways and solutions and learning and looking, for different, like, when I met Otino, he was like in that space. That's why, I started working with him, because it was like, the idea, was like, he's learning Zohar, he's doing all this stuff, trying to figure it out, right? And and so, but I'm saying, Shlomo, can you close the door? Can you close the door? All right. So he was just saying that he was doing all this stuff, and so I'm just looking at it, and I'm just like, this is a person looking for truth. This is a person looking for MS, and this is a person that has a nervousness and anxiety about it, right? And they're feverish, and they're looking for me, this person, that person, this, I ain't like all this type of stuff. So from that place, I was like, okay, I could relate to that because I was in the same space, right? And he found me, right? Which is, I think pretty highly of myself, right? And so the thing is, just saying, so that dynamic, that person comes in and they say, well, I want to take on the mitzvot and I want to take on the Torah because I want to be able to fulfill my destiny. Not that I'm found, not that because I meet a lot of these people, I'm saying, like, who convert to Judaism, and they just, whatever is going on around them is kind of like what they follow, and they just kind of like stay in that level of, like, thinking, throughout, like, their Jewish experience. And let's be weird. And so that, and that's it. So that's why you see people, they're so focused on their outfits. They're so focused on trying their best to fit in and this whole thing, because Judaism to them was not about rectifying themselves. It wasn't about connecting to the ultimate potential of who they were, right? This is what Avraham Avinu was. Avraham Avinu wasn't a guy who was lost. He was a boss, he was boss, but still he was lacking something. He didn't have completion, right? And so he went out on this journey of Lech Lecha to fulfill that ultimate purpose. That's conversion. Conversion is Lech Lecha. It's going out to find your ultimate greatness, the part that you can never do on your own. Not because you're lost in life, you don't know what to do next, and blah blah blah. And none of you guys, I don't even associate with people like this, right? But I'm just saying, in general, I see this, like here in Israel, with a lot of these people convert, and they wanted to be a social club, and it's just like, bro, you know what it is to grow up and raise kids in Torah, like to really develop them, like, and they're up here like hanging out like on looseness, and it's like you're out of the game. You're out of the game. You're not even in the game. The game is you start off with total purity, and as time goes on, um, as time goes on, as time goes on, you you maybe you open up in certain areas here, certain areas there. Maybe you're more lean in this area versus that, but you can't come in like on zero. You know what I mean? And just be like, oh well, I'm cool and I say the right words. And I'm saying I've seen a lot of people suffer like this because the kedusha of Torah is so high, and it's a real thing, right? A lot of Jews are going to get their way, like, let me get out. Liberalism, okay, that's the way out. Let's go. How do you think? Right. So, you know, um, it's big. It's something that, people are very clear on, as they go forward, because it could just become like, it could just become like, yeah, um, it just could turn into something, and the person could just miss the whole opportunity. You know what I mean? And in this life, in this whole great greatness, right? Is anyway, so let's go into a little bit of the safer, but I'm just saying, like, this is a real thing. I mean, it could go one way, or it could go another way. You know what I'm saying? And it's a real concept, right? And lineages can be built from this, but it has to be dealt with in a very serious, sacred, way, right? And so that's why, my position with the whole thing is just saying, like, okay, whatever people want to do it, but it has to be done, you know, in a way that a person is clear, because it's like, well, once a person converts, then what? Right? Now they're high of all these mitzvahs, right? They have all these mitzvahs they got to do now, right? And so, what type of environment? That's why when the Jewish community, on a mainstream level, when they do conversions, they want people to live in a Jewish community, right? Because once a person, the whole purpose, the whole concept of conversion is like you're in a community, you're a part of all these other people. All these people know who you are, they know your story. That's how it worked for me. They know me in LA, for good or bad, whatever, you know what I mean? But the point is just saying they know me there. There's thousands of people that could testify to me and my Judaism. You know what I'm saying? And so it doesn't matter where I go in the world, whether it's here in Israel or whatever, it's a network, right? So when people convert and they do these things, well, it's just like, well, you got to have a lot of security in your community. I wouldn't have made it to yeshiva or these things if it wasn't for the community that was around me, right? And people doing that. And it's just like, when it comes to marriage or this or whatever, these types of things, it's like, these are just massive things. So like for me, like I don't take the position of doing conversion because then it's just like, well, what am I going to do? Give a share to someone like a couple of days a week? It's just like no, like Judaism is a real everyday thing. Like it's a real home thing. Like it's like in the home. It's the house. It's a kosher house. It's a kosher kitchen. It's maintaining these things. It's being in a community. It's Shabbos. It's different levels of Shabbat, right? Because now like there's like my own personal thing. Hey, we do Shabbat. And then there's a community standard of keeping Shabbat, right? There's a community standard of a kosher kitchen. There's a community standard of all these different things, and which is fine. And a person can be, you know, um, aware of these things and maybe read about it, whatever. But it's another thing being, accountable to it, right? Because it's like that. So for me, like, so that's why I take the position where it's like, well, I don't have a shul in America where I can nurture people. I had a friend of mine, Shuli Karsh. His father was a big rabbi, is a big rabbi in Chicago, and he made an interesting point. We had dinner with him one night, and he does a lot of outreach. And he says, people think outreach is like, getting somebody to come to a Shabbat dinner and getting comfortable with it, and then they want to keep Shabbat, right? He says it's not just that. That person who's coming off the street, also, also has to, um, also has to, um, they have to get married, right? You see a lot of these people, they got to get married, right? You got to get married. You got to have people on your side to get married. A person's new to a community. We don't know you. The people don't know. Hey, who are you? That's what it is, right? So people come in and they got to get married, and then after you get married, you got to have a married life. It's not easy. You need a lot of support for that. Like even the issues, like even I end up getting divorced, but it's like I was still a success. You know what I'm saying? Like it was still a successful relationship. There was issues that did not allow it to go further, but that happens. But the point is, there was tons of community people involved, and I wouldn't have been able to be as successful as I was in a transition if it wasn't for that. Right. So this is like a big thing. So it's like, well, how do you take that out of the equation? Right. Especially if someone benefited from that. Right. It's not like someone said, like, well, this is the route I went, and you could do my route too. No, but you didn't go that route. So that's my position was just like, well, I can't take and the first smicha that I got as a rabbi was in America. You know what I'm saying? So I mean I'm there. You know what I'm saying? So it's not saying that, but it's just like, well, you know, you go and you convert somebody and they're not living in a Jewish community and they haven't had that added process. And then they have this dynamic of like now they got to deal with the community. Say you come to Israel and you go back. Well, how's that community going to deal with you? Oh, well, we converted by this person over here and this, but we don't know that person. So they don't know Rabbi Mordechai. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they could do a Google search and see some cool articles, but we don't know his conversion curriculum. We don't know these things, and we I mean, did you daven by him? You do Shabbos by him? Like, how'd you develop your relationship? Oh, it was online. No, I mean, come on now. So it's just saying like these things are real factors. Like it's good to do it. Like if you want to work with certain dynamics, yeah, work with it, but also be realistic about the environment that you're in because the people conversions are on a local level. You know what I'm saying? Like people know particular rabbis in certain areas and they say, okay, we trust that rabbi, so we trust that you went through the process and you're a kosher Jew. I mean that's how it works. Now if you want to create something new, okay, fine. But it's just like I can't, I mean, what do you want me to do about it? You know what I'm saying? Like when you go to the shul and you're like, hey, I want to be called up for a Torah and the Aliyah, and they'd be like, oh, really? I thought you weren't Jewish. Oh, no, I converted, right? So there has to be things put in place where, people have that type of, support and that type of thing. So either way, like I said, I don't tell people what to do, you know what I mean? But I support people's, goals and endeavors and thing. But it's a huge concept becoming Jewish. It's a huge concept. And there's so many things involved and there's so many moving parts and it's like there's so many points of accountability. You know what I'm saying? And that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? And I think that is its own specific thing. That's the thing that I'm in, right? But I don't think that the people that I meet in my life have to do what I did. Now, some people may have an independent desire and say, hey, I want to keep the Torah, I want to be religious, I want to be, keep the Torah, the laws of expressed in our Talmud, these types of things. All right, cool. I think it's great. I'm a Kabbalah guy. It's all Torah. It's all in the neshama for me. I'm, it, I'm doing me. You know what I mean? So I would, if you ask me, I'd be like, yeah, it's a great thing, but it's not. You can't see it's not a great thing for like I have two younger brothers and an older brother, right? So you would think that like I would be like, oh man, look how great the Torah is and all this wisdom, man. You should be doing what I'm doing. I don't believe it's like that. You know what I'm saying? I believe that certain people have certain sets of lights in them that need this, right? And sometimes those people are born in environments where there isn't Torah around, and mostly as a protection to them, right? Right? Because the Satan is at the gates, right? The Satan's at the gates all the time. So it's just saying. So when you grow up in a religious family, the Satan really wants to destroy you because you have the ability to do super mitzvahs, right? So when you're on the outside, sometimes it's a little bit easier. So, so I have a sibling, I have an older brother, I mean, they have their own thing. My sister converted. She had those parsufim, obviously. I didn't tell her to do it. I never talked to her about it. I mean, I talked to her after the words. I mean, when they're in the process, I was aware of it. I communicated emails, these types of things. But in general, I didn't have anything to do with it. That was her own personal thing. Right now, the great thing about it is that hey, her brother is a rabbi, right? Even though like I'm not so involved in like everything that they're doing. I'm here in Israel, they're in Atlanta, but I do have a nephew, you know, Baruch Hashem, and he's a Jew, right? And so that's a real situation, right? And so that's a big concept, right? So it's just saying like things come together, but the key thing is a key strength point is community, right? You can't overstate how annoying and how important it is at the same time, right? Because that's like when you talk about the simcha, the happiness, the joyful, the events, the relationships, so much about the transformation is through relationships, right? Is the people I've known so many people like since the beginning of my Jewish journey to now. And people have known me in different stages. I run into people all the time. Hey, I remember when you was in LA, or I remember when you was over in this yeshiva and you said this speech. I mean, I just had a guy over at my house for Shabbat reminding my friends about things that I said um, about things that, I said, 6 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, you remember you said this again. So I'm saying, but these are real relationships, right? And people go through different stages and they go through different, you know, progression points in life, and it's through the Torah and it's through halacha. Some people are up, some people are down, some people have a lot of money, some people have no money, right? And and you just it's real life. People get married and everyone's happy. Years later, a person's divorced. You know what I mean? This is real life, right? And experiencing it with other people who are also keeping the Torah, who are also keeping halakha, is a very it's a very like it's majesty, like it's the highest level of humans, because this is what it is. That the ultimate purpose of creation is to reconnect to the Creator in every aspect of life, and that's the job of the Jew, right? And that's what we're supposed to do. So you have to have community. You can't be isolated. And that's one of the challenges too when people are already married and they have kids because it's like they lose a little bit of power, right? Because before, the dad, the guy, he's the leader. All of a sudden now you got rabbis involved, you got other women, you got other perspectives, people got to get remarried, right? Because there's no marriage in Judaism, unless there's a kedushin, right? I mean, the non-Jewish world, I mean, they got their ceremonies and this and whatever, and a white dress and the ring and all that. But that's that they're imitating the Jew. It's not even in the Torah. That's the Talmud. That's Masechet Kedushin, right? Masechet Kedushin explains the process of Kesser, Star, and Bia, money, contract, and sex, real sexual relations, consummates the marriage. That's something the rabbis created, and they put conditions on how all those things have to be fulfilled. Right? That's not a biblical idea. You can't go in the Torah and find the mechanism for marriage. Now, the rabbis went into the Torah and they saw things and words and word usages that they understood as how a man acquires a wife through Sarah and through Abraham and Sarah and these types of things and the buying the property for her burial. All this happened last week, right? So it's just saying like these are big things, and at some point we'll learn these perspectives. But the other thing outside of that is it's like it's not considered. Other than that, if it's not in that mechanism, right? It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's, in terms of the Torah, it's not. In terms of the rabbinical law that existed during the times of the Sanhedrin, right? During the times of the first temple, it's not a marriage, right? So it's just saying that. So people have to get remarried. So it's a whole big work. It's a big concept, and you have to reintegrate and this, and then people change after conversion. It's a real thing. Like I thought, I was at the Kabbalah Center for years, right? And I was just like, oh, converting. All right, I get it. This. Dot dot, draw a little blood in the mikvah. Okay, big deal. I got it. I've been learning Kabbalah with the Rob Berg. I went to Israel. I visited the Ari. I did mikvahs. Let's go, right? That was my mindset. It's real. And the more you know, the bigger of a soul you're going to bring down during conversion. So it doesn't mean that. And then on top of it, the whole concept is even it's even worse because like in a way like when a person converts, there's such a new entity. Even the kids that they have, there are their kids still biologically, but spiritually they're all autonomous. They're all gerim, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. These are massive concepts. I remember when Stoudemire was converting that this was the issue, right? Like he already had kids. It's like you understand once you have kids, you're gonna like in many ways spiritually separate, right? I mean, yes, you're unified, you're there, you're children, the whole thing, but it's going to be a much different spiritual mechanism than you have. Now, the good thing is when people all convert together, then everyone is kind of like on the same page. You know what I mean? But still, they're very, it changes. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew this girl, and she grew up most of her life thinking she was like kind of like Jewish, but she kind of like knew that they weren't sure. She went to Jewish school. It was a whole story, right? Anyway, she gets married to this guy, and the rabbis kind of like come to the conclusion like it's best for her just to do a conversion just to be safe, right? But who knows? Blah blah blah. White passing, they make it easy for them. But the point is just saying, like, so she went through it. She did a conversion. She did a conversion, right? And and she did a conversion, and in her relationship with her family and people who really claim like it really changed, and I saw it with my own eyes. You know what I mean? And so these are like very big spiritual. I'm telling like I mean I know this sounds like a really small thing. I'm telling you, my whole life I grew up loving Sprite. After I came out of the mikvah, I only could drink Coca-Cola. I hated Sprite. Like I'm saying, it sounds like a small thing. What are you talking about? But that's how much I changed, eccentrically. Like I was driving down the street, Sunset Boulevard, in my car, looking at restaurants I was chilling at only maybe 4 or 5 months prior and like looking at them and like, oh, bro, these places are disgusting. And looking at them and having such like a vision in your eye where you could see the places is like, oh, this place is disgusting. Like, how did I eat there? You know what I mean? Like, and you don't think I was doing movies. Like, I'm really doing movies, right? Like people talk about, oh yeah, I'm doing movies. Bro, in Hollywood, there's maybe 10 people that are actually like doing movies. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying like I was like not one of the big guys. I was doing independent stuff, but I was really doing real product on a real mainstream level. I'm really getting real financing and really doing product, right? And so I had movies set up. After I converted, I didn't want anything to do with movies. That's why I got into politics. It wasn't like I was just like, it was some master plan. No, I didn't want to do movies anymore. I didn't want to anything that wasn't pure. I didn't want to be a part of it. It was the craziest transformation. Like I'm telling you, the person I was before, I don't even know. I'm telling you, like it's a real thing, bro. I did jerkin movement. I did skinny jeans movement. YG, New Boys, Cali Swag, DJ Mustard, all that. Those are all kids of mine. You know what I'm saying? Like took them out of high school, got them deals, and I could keep going. I could keep making. I could keep going. I could keep name dropping. Right? I don't remember any of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't remember. Like I could look at pictures. I could even tell you about things that like intellectually that I know, but in terms of me being able to see myself, the person I am right now in those same places from the past, it doesn't exist. It's like it was erased. And it's not like saying like, oh, it erases there. It's in the public. I could read about myself. New York Times, you could read about me. LA Times, you could read about me. Right? So it's there. Pictures, social media, all this stuff. But the person I was before that, I don't know. And not only that, the motivations I had after I converted, even that was different. So what I'm saying is it's a very big concept. And it's not something to take lightly. And I'm not saying anyone is taking lightly I'm not even saying people are converting. I'm just talking about the conversations came up recently. And I'm just addressing it on a broad level and just saying we're not talking about a club, we're talking about a spiritual elevation, right? And if that's the person's intention, is to have a spiritual elevation to fight the Satan, right? Because that's what this is. When we wake up in the morning, because even that, another thing they don't tell you too, when you convert, you get a bigger soul. It's a real thing. Like even say a person like was Jewish their whole life, they're already born Jewish, this, whatever, and they were not circumcised properly, and they go through a process of learning the Torah and the mitzvahs, their whole the whole cov that they have expands exponentially. The whole thing, right? Right? Exponentially. Right? And so that's a new reality. Your soul expands exponentially. Say you're Jewish. Somebody says, hey, I'm a lost Jew. I come from this. Tinok Shanishba. I came from Africa. Transatlantic slave trade. I know we got Jewish foods. I'm there, baby. I know who I am. Okay, that's fine. But now let's talk about opening the portals of light. Okay, portals of light start with correct circumcision, right? It's not me, it's the Torah, right? We're learning about Lech Lecha, right? We're learning about it. So, okay, so now that we open that union, of heaven and earth, right? Expressed through the human body, right? Through the Malchus and Zeir Anpin, through the Bris Milah and the Priya. Okay, so you go through that process. And so now you're on this whole nother level. And so now you have all this extra energy. That energy also can become dark too, right? So it's like that same desire that you could reach unbelievable heights. You could reach unbelievable levels of darkness too, because you have a vessel to consume more. The cove has expanded, right? So you have that dynamic too. So you have to deal with that because you could ruin your life. What does that mean, ruin your life? Meaning that we have certain like laws of Shabbos. If a person desecrates Shabbos, they're finished. Over. Game over. Maybe you could do tshuva, maybe not. Maybe you need to die in order to do tshuva. That's how serious it is. Right? So So that's a very clear, just a very clear outlook. Like it's a massive, massive transformation, right? And it's not to discourage, right? It's just to say, like, no, no, this is just the reality of the situation. Like, I mean, it's not just like, oh, I joined a club and I did these rituals. Like, no, this is real souls coming down. This is real souls expanding. However perspective you want to look at it. Some people say the soul comes down with conversion. Some say the soul is completely revealed after conversion. Either way, it's a change. And the relationship that you have with everybody changes. Everything changes. My relationship with my parents changed, right? I mean, in a good way. Like I'm their protector, right? Spiritually, they're feeding from the light I'm bringing down, my tefillah. Hashem is, I'm a channel for them. They have the merit to have a pure channel as a son, right? So it's not a negative thing, right? They could the next world, they're going to be able to stand in front of Hashem and say, "Hey, we created a Torah scholar, a person who did millions of mitzvahs. It inspired tons of people." In your Torah, in your way. That's what they'll be able to stand. And not only them, my grandparents will stand in front of them, my great grandparents and my great grandparents and my great all the way back to Adam will be able to stand. We'll stand in front of Hashem every day that is their day of judgment, and on my merit, be able to stand in front of Hashem and say, "Hey, we were connected to Him." That's what it is to be a Jew. The whole system changes, right? The whole is massive disruption spiritually on the spiritual line, especially from my spiritual line. I'm coming from African American reality. My mom's from Meridian, Mississippi. My dad's from Cleveland, Ohio. Before that, they're Alabama people. You know what I mean? Like they're coming out of chattel slavery. They're American Indians. All types of stuff is mixed with us. So it's just saying that like it's just saying so like now I'm standing at the highest level, and it's because I'm a Jew. It's because I'm Israel. I'm staying at the highest level, right? That's the reality of my life. Doesn't mean I'm better than anyone. No, I'm saying the highest level of my potential. I could never imagine I'll be standing on the Temple Mount every morning praying in Hebrew words 20 years ago. Come on now. I mean, that's crazy. Jews wasn't even allowed to pray up there, up until a few years ago. Till your boy got into the land, things start changing. Your boy got in the land, they start loosening up. So if I look back on my life, it's 2025. If I look back on 2016, I was running for Congress. My level of change was based on the impure system. I'll get into politics. You can make changes. You can't make changes in purity. You can only take impurity to the light, and the only way you could do that is being completely in the kedusha. So anyway, to this, I know that maybe this is like a conversion share. I don't know. But I just want to just touch on a little bit of just a little bit of rum call. But all these points are just, we're just talking it out because this is the highest level, right? And it has to be treated as that because there's no higher level than taking every single aspect of our body, every single aspect of our life, and transforming it to a servant of it, to servant or service of Hashem. This is the highest level, right? And and it should be treated as such. So just read a little bit of the first chapter because this is chapter 30, and but and it's good to tell you a little about my story too. You know what I mean? Because this is like real stuff, bro. This is like historical stuff. Coming from our community. You know, uh, sure the whole thing not even working. Hold on. So I'm trying to get on Safari. It won't even. It's not even clicking right now. Hold on. Maybe I should do it like this. All right. Let's go back to it. There we go. Seriously, won't even let me click on it. Hold on. Let me try this. Hold on. I don't know why it's not working. This God is blocking us. Hold on. Oh, I'm trying to get on, trying to log on. It won't let me log on. Hold on. Okay. Anyways, why I'm trying to fix this? Is there any thoughts, reflections from you guys? I know I went pretty hard. I went pretty hard. I know I went pretty hard, but it was important. It was important just to kind of like lay out Hashkafa and also the talking point and conversion. You know, just because we're not any reflection, Elder? You have anything on that? I'm looking this up.
Oh, Baruch Hashem. No, no, not the moment. Just taking it all in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, Tino, you good? Mhm. I don't know. Either way, I don't know. My thing's frozen. Either way, we've been on it for a while. Anyways, the thing is like this. We just keep pushing forward. We had to have this talk. Chapter 30 is a big change because it really focuses on this idea of the idea of the cuff and what it means that it brings in the concept of good and evil. I'm back. I'm back. I don't know. They said that the whole they said it crashed. So I don't know if it was because we're going for a long time or what. But maybe we could maybe now, and it still doesn't work. It's so annoying, bro. I can't get on it. All right. Anyways, it's what is it today? Tuesday. We did Monday. I mean, we did Sunday. We lost. We didn't do Monday. I know Monday was just like crazy. Yeah, we have so many stories. All right, so we'll just continue on tomorrow. I mean, we're getting into this, but we're building greatness. That's the key thing. We're building greatness, and we're building like a completely new identity. You know what I'm saying? In holiness. And again, there's the other identity too. All I'm saying is we're in the frame of Torah, we're in the frame of mitzvot, and it's just saying I'm in the pure system, right? And so are you. Sometimes there's a pull to the impure system for us to be that. When I daven, I'm davening as a soul. I try to understand the lights that are within inside of me. You see what I'm saying? They'd be like, oh, well, you don't know your history though. But you were colonized too, just maybe 500 years before. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is that's not even a question, right? That's not even a question, right? And it's not even a question. But I want to see a society focused on trying to find out their inner truth and their inner lights and to share that with other human beings versus a society that's divided on color and physical descriptions and DNA that are byproducts of the equator. I'm done with that. I'm done with that society. I'm done with it. I'm sorry. Am I too far gone? I don't know. Maybe I prayed too much. Maybe I prayed too much. I don't know. But where I'm at in life, I am not a part of that world of impurity that wants to keep people separated. I will not participate in that. I will not call myself black. I will not call myself African American. I will not do that. That does not take away from the greatness of my ancestors who were great souls who struggled in the system of impurity. They didn't win in impurity. They suffered in it. To me, that's holy. To me, that's holy. Because if you're in a system that says, no, you're divided and you're the minority and this and all this, and these other people are good, and we're going to give them some extra money and give you less money in all in all of all those types of things. Hey, hey, I'm glad to lose in that system. I don't want to win in that system. If you're winning that system, you need to beg for forgiveness immediately because all of that is darkness. If your success and money is coming from war and missiles and bombs and imprisoning people, putting drugs in people's communities, cutting those deals, and you're eating off of that, I'm good. I'd rather struggle. From what I've learned, I'd rather struggle. You can keep that money. You can keep whatever you got. I don't want none of that because eventually my soul is going to leave this world after 120. All that stuff you got to answer for is not on my plate. You know what I answered for, Hashem? I struggled. I was subjugated. I was battered by the impure system, but I never gave up hope on you, and I never gave up on you, and I loved you all the way through. You know what Hashem's going to say? My child, go into the heavenly gates. I don't know about the guy who made money off of killing millions of people, or the guy who's doing housing fraud, or the guy who's ripping people off in banks and all that. Okay, you may feel like you made it. I don't believe in that world. So that's where I'm at. That's why I'm just like, I refuse to accept your system. They're like, hey, let's fix racism. No, I don't. You need to fix racism. I need to get more connected to my soul. You want me to be a race. That therefore you have power. You have power. There's race, you have power. I'm black, you're white. Once I accept that I'm black, then you have power, right? But if I'm not black, that means you have to question if you're white now. And if you're not white, that means you're just that means you're something else. And what is that? Either a male or a female. And you know what that means? That means me and you are the same. And there's a 50% chance that we're the same. Either we're both males or we're both, or you're female and we're different. But either way, we're both humans and we're both created by God and we can understand our narrative through Adam, right? So for me, I want to make that the issue in America. Not I don't want to go to any other Jewish communities and other people and say, hey, here's my knowledge of my history. Here's the knowledge of my past. Here's my understanding. Can we sit at a table with you? I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in a new system of thought. A new system of thought that there is a power of like say what Chief Rabbi Pinchas teaches with Nusach Afriki. There is a power in what he's teaching, a huge power. Why? Because once you get into the soul level, then I can say, hey, what did some of my ancestors? How did they connect their souls to the light force of God? And maybe I can learn things that people who, had similar life experiences. Not saying I'm disconnected from the guy in Europe or the guy in other parts of Africa or the guy in Asia or the guy in South America. No, I can also learn from him too. But there is also to say that, like, my grandparents and great grandparents and great grandparents and all the way back, they had certain ideas too. I should learn those things, right? Of course, if they had certain habits, it's connected to me, even genetically in my DNA. It makes sense. So I'm not dissing. I'm not dissing saying like, oh well, no, once you get to the soul level, then you have to connect to soul technology. And that's where the strength of what Chief Rabbi Pinchas is doing, because he's making it easy where most people have always taught the only way they can connect. Most people, who come from African descent in these other places only felt that they could connect to wisdom through other people's cultures, right? And that's the genius of what he's doing, is saying like, no, you can connect it to your culture. And for me, as the, in North America in this conversation, we're going to use, it's hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hip hop. Hip hop, like, hip hop is everything. Like, we have to elevate hip hop and make hip hop holy. You know what I'm saying? We have to go inside of hip hop and create halakha for hip hop culture, right? So that's what we got to do. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, I get it. Africa, the whole thing. We with it. This is our movement, but we got to get this North America thing right, and we hip hop. I mean, that's just a way to say it. I mean, I don't know have a better word for it, but we hip hop, and not only that, we all over the world, and we got $1 trillion in buying power, right? There's 190 countries in the world. Only 19 of them have over a $500 million GDP. African Americans have $1 trillion themselves. So it's just saying that. So there's a lot to work with. You know what I mean? And a large percentage of those people identify as descendants of Israel. But we got to take it to a whole new level of conversation, which is around the soul. If I go with any other language, if I use any of the language of the academic system, history, this, all this stuff, they're going to destroy me and say, well, look at Umar Johnson. Umar Johnson's the best example. No, the guy's a smart guy. He had a lot of innovations and critiques on school and childhood development and all that. You know what they did? They shamed this guy. You see what they did to him? They shamed Umar Johnson, right? They shamed Umar Johnson. Now all he could do is talk about don't date snow bunnies, and then they'll give him a platform for that. But when he was talking about childhood development and child psychology and how the school system is, bro, they were smashing this guy, bro. They're bringing up shows to shame him. Oh, you're not really a doctor. You got a fake school. I haven't heard about his school since he started talking about snow bunnies and white girls dating black guys. Because he got his black woman audience in his algorithm. So all he got to do is say black women and the queen, and that's all he is, right? So I'm saying I could be out there and I could be another guy like that and say like, hey, I'm the black rabbi. I'm here. I'm doing this. Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, that you'll be shrunk. I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing this for. I'm doing this for. I'm in the spirit of Rob Berg. I'm in the spirit of Rob Brammer, Rob Ashlag. I'm going all the way back. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is about Geula, right? Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, Rabbi Pinchas Eliyahu, all these different influences, right? Rabbi Schiller. You know, there's tons of people, right? But Abraham Rockmill. So you're saying so many people are part of this that are no longer here with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, people who've taught me Torah that are now. I mean, most of the people I name are alive. I mean, not most of them, but Rabbi Pinchas, Rabbi Pinchas, you should be with him forever. But um, the point is just saying that this is um, this is a real thing, and so it can achieve. I mean, we're all here for a reason. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But the key thing is just being clear on decision making, you know, and and I'm a big believer in letting things come to you, letting things come to you. And I don't think so. So, for example, if someone's going to convert and go through Rabbi Pinchas's dynamic, That's very good because he's a real Torah teacher. Like he's a real mikubal. Like he's extremely talented, extremely gifted, and he knows what he's talking about, and he's sincere what he's talking about. But what I would say is that they should also coordinate that with a conversion program in their local community, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to go to a shul. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you want to have Shabbat with other people. You know what I'm saying? You want to make friends. Nassim Black, he's the guy who converted. He made a bunch of friends. House of Lev, random people, all these people. Yehuda Price, L'chaim OG. First of all these people come. You know, I put Brock. You know, but I'm just saying the point is just saying all these people they're doing their thing at their own level. But I'm saying these people all went through that same system. Chief Rabbi Pinchas went to the same system. Rabbi Zohar, all those people, Rabbi Eltanan, all those people that are, the main guys, and even Rabbi Pinchas, they all went to the same system. So what I'm saying is you have to coordinate both because it has to be something acceptable in your community. So you could work. I mean, maybe they will accept it if they're a part of it. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's a lot of details that have to work out. But the key thing is whatever synagogue you go to, right? Whatever synagogue you go to, they have to know that you're Jewish and respect that, and the community needs to feel a sense of empathy and a sense of connection to your journey. And that's the gift, like that's one of the gifts is being in a community and going through conversion and everyone knowing it and everyone watching and people being inspired by it. It's such a gift. I mean, me as a Jew, I look when people convert, I convert, but I see people come in. I'm like, man, he just gave me energy, or she gave me energy, and I get very disappointed when I see people convert, not really take advantage of it. But the point is just saying, it's a massive gift to be converting in a community, and for the community to know that you're a part of them, and they all saw you, and they're like, and you have inspiration, and then after that process it's huge. Everyone's going to want you over for Shabbat, all the holidays. You're the couple that converted with the kids. You know what I mean? It's exciting stuff. They're into it. Jews love this stuff. Like, I mean, your Jewish community is like this. And I'm not saying overall, but I'm saying in the places that are very holy. At first, everyone's looking at you like, who are you? Where you at? Where you from? But once they see that you're in it and you're serious and you're consistent, they love you. Why? Because they're the weird ones in the Jewish world, right? You would think like the religious people are the most discriminatory in these types of things. It's the opposite. It's the Jews that are liberal. They're the ones who adopted the non-Jewish philosophy to life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the ones who are not religious. These are the ones who still see black, white, these other things. People in a religious community, and this is pervasive. They know you're in. I lived in the most religious area. People are like, how could you live there? They're so mean to everybody. Bro, they love me there, bro. People are praying for me. Why? Because every morning they saw me wake up, roll out of bed with a Gemara in my hand and walk to yeshiva. And they didn't see me to at night, walking back at night from yeshiva. And this went on for years. And people are like, this dude is real. When I got engaged to my ex, bro, there was groups of men coming to my house and saying, yeah, we heard you got engaged. First of all, how'd you, I mean, maybe people, my dear, other people who I was living with said it, whatever, but they heard, random guys I've never met before came to my house were like, yeah, we've been praying for you to get married. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. It's weird. It's the opposite. The guys with the biggest black hats and this, the coats, the whole thing, and they don't talk to nobody. You'll look at them and be like, bro, I'd rather be with the guys who dress more like me. No, it's the opposite. The people who are the most religious are the most welcoming, the most open heart. They just need to know that you're in it with them because they're a minority within the Jewish community. They're the weird ones. They're the ultra orthodox. You ever hear them say that? Ultra, ultra orthodox. Like, what are you talking about, man? You know what I mean? And that's how they say it here in Israel. It's all politics, so ultra orthodox. And so you have that, but the point is just saying that um the point is just saying that that this is just the reality. You know what I mean? And so it's a weird reality. And hear a funny story actually. It's a true story. It's a true story. And we'll finish it off here, but you guys are gonna love this. Okay, so this was like probably like 2018. Okay, this is a true story. I was walking home. I'm telling you, dude, this is like you don't even understand how crazy this story is. So I was at yeshiva and I'm walking home after Shabbat, right? We did third meal, whatever. I'm walking back, we dive in. And I'm walking back to my place. I'm in Meir Sharim. All right. Meir Sharim is the most religious city in all of Israel. Like they have signs for women not to come through there not dressed modest, right? It's Shabbat, people drive their cars through there. They some of these kids while out, they start throwing rocks. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right, but they do it. They're completely fanatical about mitzvahs and Torah in that area. Any desecration of it, they're ready to wild out. So this is the area I live in, right? This is I'm getting off the plane from LA, and this is where I end up living, right? So okay, so this is my life. So I've been living there at this point, probably like close to like 3 years or something like this. And and so I'm walking home, and I'm walking on this side street, and I look up, and it's like 15 black dudes. Like standing there, bro. I haven't seen nobody black in years. I've been in the black desert. I haven't seen anyone. I haven't seen. I've seen a couple of African American guys that I mean yeshiva because I'm not even in regular Israeli culture now. Like I'm in regular Israeli culture. Like I wake up, I go to the store. You know what I mean? I do regular things. When I was in yeshiva, we didn't do nothing but wake up and learn Gemara. The food was prepared for us. Everything. You went in, you had breakfast, this, you're studying, blah, blah, lunch, this, blah, 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 you're studying dinner, blah, 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 this. You want to go out to eat just to eat something outside the routine. So I didn't see nobody for years. My head was only in learning. That's it. I didn't go to any parties, no Tel Aviv, nothing. I still haven't been to a good Tel Aviv party. But the point is just saying, like the ones up at the that type of stuff. I haven't been to it. But the point is to say, I just want to do that. But the point is just saying, so I'm walking home and it's 15 black fools. Like just standing there, brother, just standing there. And not only that, they're like in biblical garb. They got the headpieces on, the whole thing. And this is everyone's black and white over where I'm at. Everybody's black and white. Hats, this, stripes. So I see these dudes. I'm like, am I tripping right now? Like, am I like what's going? Like, am I like what? Like, this is not. Am I awake? Like, I'm thinking like, am I dreaming right now? Like, did I go to sleep and I'm just dreaming? Because this is like. So anyway, so they're all looking at me, and I walk up to them, and I'm like, "What's up?" And they were just like, they're like, "Shalom, shalom." So anyway, so apparently it was a group of guys. They're Hebrew Israelites, and they've been just traveling around the world spreading the gospel. And for Pesach, they wanted to come and be in Meir Sharim because they read in some type of rabbinical literature that this was the place where they used to dump the ashes during the times of the temple, which is true. Like the place I lived at was like it's right outside of the old city where the Temple Mount is. So I lived right outside of that, like maybe like maybe a 15-minute walk. That's where I was living. So I mean, I live now like maybe like a 20-minute, 25-minute walk, whatever. I walk in the morning. When you see me there, I usually try to walk in the morning. I don't exercise. But anyways, so these guys, they were Hebrew Israelite guys, and they were traveling around the world, going to different places, spreading their ideas. And they had this one guy who was like their leader. This I don't know if there were any like particular camp per se, but I still follow the guys. And they had this name Prince Yahweh Yah, this type of thing. Very nice guys. So I just like I was so overwhelmed by it, and they were living like literally next to the Mir Yeshiva. Like this is not. I mean, I'm telling you, these guys. It was like, and then they take me back to their apartment. And they're like, "Yeah, we're here for the holidays." I'm like, "Where you guys at?" He said, "Over here, blah blah." And he's like, "You want to come back with us?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I just walked back with him, and then I just started like chilling with him, and I ended up bringing L'chaim OG over there, other guys, other African American guys that were at the yeshiva at the time, and it was just a big story. And I remember bringing Lukute Moran over there. Anyway, the point is, they told me that when they first moved into these apartments just for the holidays, that the other Jews that were there said to them that you guys are the lost tribes and welcome back. That's what they said to them. This is a Meir Sharim. This is Meir Sharim. These guys were looking. I'm talking about the headscarf, the crystal emblem on the neck, the white guard, the whole thing, bro. The Jews in Meir Sharim came to him and said, "Welcome back." That's what he said to them. They thought it was. They were the people in Meir Sharim. They thought it was time. That's where they were at. A group of black men came there with children because it wasn't just them. They came. They had wives. They had kids. They're all packed into this apartment. It was like maybe 30 something people. I don't know how they fit in there. But anyways, the point is just saying, bro, the Jews in Meir Sharim was just like, yeah, welcome back. Let's go. So nobody would ever imagine people from Israel. Like you talk to people like liberal Israelis, they would never accept this idea. They'd be like, what are you talking about? These people are the most racist and this and blah blah. No, this is the thing about it's a secret. The more religious Jews are, the more accepting they are, and the more praise they have of converts. Like when I live and people get mad about the convert thing. This is like, first of all, there's no concept of convert in Judaism, right? There's gerim, right? People who become strangers to the world that they came from, right? But they already had the same parsufim as the rest of the klal. They just had a different route on getting there. So there's no, and it's like even the circumcision, everything, the mikvah, everything, that's all revealment. You know what I'm saying? It's revealment of who you are. It's nefesh hager. It's a real thing. But anyways, but it's just saying. But no one would ever believe that. They would be like, oh man, if you get a case study, and you wrote it on a paper, 30 black people from America dressed in biblical garb show up in Meir Sharim, what is the reaction? People be like, oh, they would throw rocks at them or protest or yell at them. They're so judgmental. And no, they were ready. They were ready for Mashiach. They was like, hey, let's go. You guys are lost tribes. Let's go. That's what the Hebrew Israelites told me. It's not like I saw it myself and I interpreted it in the way that I wanted to. This is what they told me about their neighbors. Anyways, so it was the greatest decision of my life. And every day I'm happy. And every day I go higher spiritually. And I'm here talking to you. You know what I'm saying? And I used to do movies. I used to talk to people about finance, creative finance, and markets, and trends, So this is what God has took me to. So everyone should have that ability, and that ability does come through, the sanctification and becoming a part of the cloud. But you just have to put those things out there just to be a truthful, honest person because, I'm a rabbi and everything that I say is being written by the angels. Really, everything everyone's saying, but because I have a sense of like authority or scholarship or wisdom in a particular area, everything that I say in everything I do. That's what makes it. You know how easy it is for a single guy to date. You could go out, you talk to girls, you could be flirtatious and say this, say that, be smooth. I can't do that. I'm a rabbi. I can't do that. Like I'm saying, it's a crazy thing. I can't do that. I only can draw a woman on maximum holiness. Anything other than that, I'm lowering myself and I'm disgracing myself. You understand? I'm famous here, right? People know me, right? Everywhere I go, they know. But see, the thing is, when they say, "Hey, Rabbi," it's not like, "Hey, hey, Grammy Award winner," or "Hey, Professor." That's not what's happening. They're saying, "Hey, you're a moral example of the Torah," and I'm just reminding you of that. So you get reminded everywhere you go what the Torah is and how you're supposed to act in front of the people because you are a reminder to the people of how to act in the way of the Torah. That's what it is to be a rabbi walking around Jerusalem. That's what it is to be on the news. That's what it is to be in the media, to be in newspapers. Because people see you and they say, you say you're a rabbi. Okay, very nice. Okay, so that's how I'm going to look at you. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's what I walk around with every day. I can't get away from it for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter where I go. That's what I have to live with the rest of my life. So it's a very big deal. It's not a joke. Anyways, I know I talked your ear off, but hey, it's the only place you're gonna get this conversation in the world right now. You know what I mean? So tomorrow we'll continue on, God Bavat Hashem, and we'll get right in the Ram call, God willing, unless something, miraculous happens. But we're all in this together, and the beauty is like, a lot of us, especially in this class, we're coming from the African American experience, whereas everything was given to us was really a lie, you know. But there was like certain sparks in the parsufim of these souls that allowed us to still pursue justice within it. That's the most amazing thing, that after everything that happened, that these people still pursue justice. So for me, I just see myself as an extension of that reality, but not just the African American experience, but also the total American experience, right? Because I'm also part of the white people in America and the Hispanic people in America and the Asian people and the Indian American Indians and all these other people. They're also part of me. You know what I mean? That it's also part of, in many cases, even my DNA, right? So it's not limited to that, right? And then when I remove all those names, right, which we do in the yeshiva, we don't refer to ourselves that way. Then I could see a set of souls that were brought into North America, that were faced with a lot of materialism, that were faced with the ability to have inequity, that the ability to have all these disparities and separation. But because of that, them working towards a greater connection of unity, they perfect their souls, right? So no one is the white people, black people, everyone has a cocoon. But Israel, we're supposed to bring everyone together, like Yosef, right? How Yosef brought together all the brothers in Egypt. We're supposed to bring all the worlds in the Galut together, right? And we're supposed to teach the world how we're all unified, how we're all from the same source, we're all from the Creator, and we've done wrong things to each other throughout the histories and throughout the ages because of darkness, because of concealment. But now that we can see, we can apologize for what we've done to each other, and we can start a new era, because there's a new era of human creativity, of human thought, flying cars, interactions, humans, robots, the whole thing. So we got to get to this new place, right? That's obvious. The Jetsons showed us, the cartoon, the Jetsons showed us the opposite of the Flintstones, right? And the Jetsons showed us where we're going to go, right? So that's where we're at. So that we're going to go there. We're going to have robot dogs and the whole thing. Ochino's going to have robot pets in the future. Baruch Adonai Leolam, man.